Let's go, Eagles. I don't know about you, but I'm counting down the days until the season kicks off. Sure, we've still got a few months to go, but my green and white heart is already pounding with excitement. Our team is locked in, sharp, and ready to soar higher than ever. Today, I've got to talk about some big topics that have been stirring things up behind the scenes in Philly. And trust me, a lot is about to go down in the coming weeks. I'll spill everything I've been hearing soon, but before we dive in, make sure you smash that like button. Only if you've been an Eagles fan for over 19 years. And shout out to the diehards who were at games back in the 70s. That's legendary stuff. Maximum respect. If you can, drop a comment like this. Go Birds! My heart bleeds green and white. Let's fly even higher. Now, let's kick things off with this breaking news. The Eagles and the Browns just wrapped up an intense joint practice at the NovaCare complex. And this wasn't just another day in camp. It might have been the most important session of the summer. Starters were going head-to-head, ones versus ones, in the closest thing we've seen to live game action before the regular season opener against Dallas on September 4th. This was a rare chance for both the offense and defense to test themselves against another team at full speed. But not everyone was on the field. Once again, A.J. Brown was sidelined with that lingering hamstring issue. The team is being cautious. His history with hamstring injuries means they're in no rush to push him back, especially given his importance to the offense. Alongside him on the injury list were Elijah Cooks with a shoulder problem, Landon Dickerson dealing with a knee issue that will require minor meniscus surgery, and Kenyon Green, also with a shoulder injury who may not play again this preseason. Cooks had been a standout story in camp before his setback, but his absence could push him toward a practice squad role. Some players were limited but did get work in. Zach Bond returned from a back contusion. Gabe Hall was back from a shoulder issue. Rookie Miles Hinton from an ankle problem. Montreal Johnson with a hamstring. And Byron Young with a groin injury. Hall's presence is notable. The Eagles' decision to trade Thomas Booker was in part due to their confidence in him. One of the more entertaining side notes to the day came off the field. Viral Eagles superfan Gilly the Kid was in attendance with Big Dom. Gilly, who famously clashed online with Cam Newton after Newton left Jalen Hurts out of his top 10 QB list, brought his usual energy, even poking fun at Johnny Manziel in a video after Manziel called him a clown. It's all part of the passion that fuels this fan base. On the Browns side, rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders was warming up to face the Eagles' second and third string defense, but left practice early with an oblique injury. Whether he plays in the upcoming preseason matchup is uncertain, which is a shame,
considering the hype he's generated after an impressive debut. One of the brightest Eagles stories right now is undrafted wideout Darius Cooper. He's turned heads since spring, shined in the preseason opener against Cincinnati with a 20-yard TD from Tanner McKee, and is now even getting run with the first team. Special teams reps suggest the staff is looking for ways to keep him on the 53-man roster, especially with Jahan Dotson set to hit free agency next year. Cooper isn't alone in that competition. Johnny Wilson and Ainias Smith are also in the mix for that future WR3 role. Wilson, after a slow start to camp, had a breakout preseason game and continued to impress today, using his 6 feet 6 inches frame to snag contested catches from both McKee and Hurts. The day was also a test for the offensive line, particularly Jordan Mailata, who faced off with elite pass rusher Myles Garrett. Garrett managed 1 sack on Hurts, but Mailata held his own in the muggy conditions, gaining valuable reps against one of the league's best. Hurts had an uneven day, interceptions in 1-on-1s and 7-on-7s, some questionable decision-making, but also a couple of strong TD passes to A.J. Dillon and DeVonta Smith against the Brown starters. With Hurts unlikely to see much preseason action, these practices may be his only real competitive reps before Week 1, making every snap critical. Competition battles remain heated. Adoree Jackson and rookie Quinyon Mitchell started at outside corner, with Sidney Brown and Reed Blankenship at safety. Linebackers Zach Bond and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. got first-team work, while rookies Jihad Campbell and Andrew Mukuba mixed in on defense. At corner, Keely Ringo, Jackson, and recent trade acquisition Jaquan Bennett are still battling for a starting spot opposite Mitchell. Bennett flashed with a pass breakup on Jerry Jeudy before giving up some big plays, showing both his potential and the adjustment curve he's facing in a new system. One of the more intriguing roster questions is at punt returner, where Avery Williams and Ainias Smith are locked in a close competition that could come down to final roster math. Williams, a free agent pickup from Atlanta, continues to make his case with consistent reps. The practice wasn't without fireworks. There was a skirmish during a special teams drill, with Sidney Brown possibly in the middle of it, keeping his reputation for mixing it up intact. And while Azeez Ojulari applied pressure as he pushes for that third pass rusher spot behind Nolan Smith and Josh Uche, Hurts closed the day with another interception, highlighting the need for sharper decision-making heading into the season. With the second joint practice against Cleveland set for tomorrow, there's still time for Hurts and the offense to rebound before the games start to count. But after today's showing, the question is clear. Are the Eagles' offensive growing pains just part of the process, or should we be more concerned? What's your take on this, Eagles fans? Day 2 of joint practices against the Browns brought another round of high-intensity reps at the NovaCare complex, and the urgency was obvious from the first snap. For the Eagles, this wasn't just about rebounding from yesterday's uneven showing. It was about fine-tuning matchups, testing roster depth, and pushing competition at key positions with just weeks to go before the season opener. The weather was hot and humid again, the kind that drains you by the second half of practice, but both teams came out firing. The defensive back battle remained front and center. Keely Ringo got more run with the first team, showing physicality at the line and better awareness than the day before. Adoree Jackson also saw significant reps opposite Quinyon Mitchell, while Jaquan Bennett looked sharper, limiting big plays and forcing tight throwing windows. It's clear the Eagles haven't settled on a starter opposite Mitchell, and every snap is being treated like an audition. At safety, Sidney Brown's energy was on full display. He broke up multiple passes and brought his trademark aggression to run support, pairing well with Reed Blankenship. Rookies Jihad Campbell and Andrew Mukuba rotated in with the starters again, underscoring that those positions are far from locked in. On the offensive side, Jalen Hurts looked more decisive early, finding DeVonta Smith on timing routes and showing improved anticipation against the Browns' aggressive secondary. He worked more with Johnny Wilson, who continues to make a case for regular season snaps. Wilson used his size to shield defenders and haul in contested catches, including a highlight grab on a deep corner route from Tanner McKee, who once again showed why he's considered one of the top backups in the league. McKee's poise and willingness to test tight windows stood out, connecting with Darius Cooper on a sideline route that drew cheers from teammates. Cooper's stock is skyrocketing. He's now seeing consistent first-team work and contributing on special teams, making him a strong 53-man roster candidate. A.J. Brown remained sidelined as he continues to recover from his hamstring injury, but the absence gave other receivers valuable first-team reps. Ainias Smith took advantage with sharp route running and reliable hands, while A.J. Dillon continued to show off his versatility by catching passes out of the backfield. The offensive line held up well against Cleveland's front, with Jordan Mailata rebounding from a tougher first day against Myles Garrett. Garrett still flashed, but Mailata's footwork and anchor strength gave Hurts more time to operate. Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson's absence from full action meant backups had to step in, offering valuable reps to depth players who may be needed later in the season. Special teams battles continued to heat up. Avery Williams and Ainias